Special thanks to Sega for providing us with this review copy. After skipping out on the 2018 Winter Olympics, Mario and Sonic are back and ready to compete in Nintendo and Sega's home turf, the Tokyo 2020 Summer Olympic Games. With plenty of new sporting events, story mode, and minigames, are these Olympic Games worth checking out? My name is Tris, and let's find out in this review of Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020. The premise behind the story mode is silly, yet fitting to the series. Mario, Sonic, Toad, Bowser, and Dr. Eggman are sucked into a video game of Eggman's own creation, trapping them in a 2D version of Tokyo 1964. While they try to escape, Luigi and Tails work together in modern Tokyo 2020 to try to rescue everyone trapped in the game. As you complete different missions with Luigi and Tails, more and more characters are recruited. Ultimately, this doesn't really matter too much, as each mission, for the most part, has a set character for it. While the character personalities and writing are rather charming, the story mode as a whole is relatively basic. The inclusion of minigames between some events was definitely a nice change of pace. Overall, the story mode may be charming and relatively quick, but it isn't what I would put as the highlight to the game. Let's start this gameplay section with the main sporting events. There's 21 main sporting events in the game, and 3 dream events, making for a total of 24. Nearly all of these offer various control options of single Joy-Con or dual Joy-Con for motion controls, or button controls, such as when playing with a Pro Controller or in handheld mode. I found myself mostly playing with button controls, but the motion controls weren't bad at all, though definitely made some events more challenging. While some events are a little complex in terms of controls, the game is pretty good about displaying what buttons to press in the middle of gameplay too, which is actually pretty nice. Being honest, the gameplay behind these events is the main highlight of the game for me. Most of these events are pretty fun to play, and rather quick too. The fact that most events play rather quick is definitely something that helps the gameplay feel so smooth. There's plenty of events to choose from, with plenty of new ones, such as karate and skateboarding. I've been having the most fun with sport climbing, shortboard surfing, and dream racing, but I overall enjoyed most of the 3D events. Whether you're performing tricks in skateboarding, hitting bullseyes in archery, or beating your foes in dream karate, you'll find that there's plenty to do across all the various events. On top of the 24 3D events, the game also celebrates Tokyo 1964 Olympic Games with 10 retro 2D events. These exclusively use button controls and have a smaller roster of characters. While I think most of the 2D events are fun, there are some that I feel are way too slow and monotonous. Volleyball comes to mind immediately, as its story mission took me nearly an hour to complete. While some of the 2D events are just as quick and simple as the 3D events, the slower ones just made me want to avoid playing them altogether. Truth be told, after completing the story mode, I found myself sticking to 3D events anyway and hardly going back to the 2D ones. Speaking of the story mode, as you progress through it, you'll come across various minigames, both in Tokyo 2020 and 1964. While these were additional missions in the plot, they also unlock the play from main menu, where players can find harder difficulties and further challenges. The minigames are pretty fun and enjoyable overall. I'm personally a big fan of spotting specific entities in the large crowd of Shibuya Scramble. Next up, let's talk multiplayer. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020 has a nice variety of options for its multiplayer, including local on a single console, local wireless by connecting up to 4 Switch systems together, or online, which can be done with anyone, friends only, or a mix of both. The multiplayer in this game is solid. Local wireless and online are especially nice since you don't have to wait and take turns each playing or utilize a split screen. Each player plays at the same time, and then individual scores are tallied. It's an overall very smooth and streamlined experience. Playing online with anyone is something I'm not too sure about, unfortunately, as during my time with the game, I wasn't able to match with many other players due to playing before the game officially released. I was able to play with my friend for several hours, though with little to no problems or lag though. The gameplay and connection was incredibly smooth, which was actually a little shocking admittedly. This could have been because it was only the 2 of us in a room the whole time though, and perhaps there may be some slowdown with the full room. I'm honestly not sure, and I unfortunately can't say either way. What does strike me as odd, however, is that the 2D events can't be played online, only the 3D events. I genuinely really like the gameplay in this iteration of Mario and Sonic. The controls are really nice, and each event is honestly fun. I can't say I care too much about the new gimmicky 2D events though. I just find the gameplay of the 3D 2020 events to be far more captivating. I really do wish we had more than 3 Dream events, but the 3 we have are incredibly solid and really fun. Though it would be nice if those 3 had some variety, such as other tracks in the Dream Racing or other stage layouts in Dream Karate. Despite this, they do still play really well. When you examine the presentation behind this game, one thing that really stands out is the charm and personality behind it all. Characters like Bowser Jr., Dr. Eggman, and the Wario Bros. Really feel like their characters. There's some odd ones like Bowser that just feel a little off at times, but perhaps that's due to being trapped in a 2D world and not having many forms of expression. When playing the 3D events, the characters are incredibly expressive through their various animations, and it's actually pretty nice to see. Let's back up a little bit though. Like most of the entries in the series, there's 20 different characters to choose from that have been present since the second game in the series, 10 Mario characters and 10 Sonic characters. Like the Rio 2016 Olympic Games, this game features guest characters that are only playable in one event, such as Toadette in 110-meter hurdles, Espio in triple jump, and Rosalina in surfing. Unfortunately, there were fewer guest characters present than there were in Rio. While the idea of having additional characters in the roster is nice, restricting them to one singular event is a bit upsetting. I did enjoy unlocking the additional guest characters, but half of the Mario guests are Koopalings, and it doesn't feel incredibly rewarding. Some of the picks for guest characters just felt a bit odd to me. On top of that, Toadette is the only new guest in the game, as all the others were in the previous entry. Combined with the fact that there's less of them, the whole character system just feels like it was handled a bit strangely. One thing this iteration of Mario and Sonic does nicely is familiarize the player with the Olympic Games. In the story mode, as players explore both Tokyo 2020 and Tokyo 1964, they'll come across plenty of trivia stations that are all informative of Tokyo, the Olympic Games, or the characters of the Mario and Sonic series. The amount of trivia is actually rather neat, and there's a nice collection accessible from the main menu to view all of it. Something I've always loved about the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games series is the music. The series is usually filled with tons of remixes from both the Mario games and the Sonic games. Unfortunately, this time around it's incredibly minimal, the only real remixes being for Dream Racing and Dream Karate. The rest of the soundtrack to the game are more akin to traditional Japanese-inspired music, and while that isn't bad at all, most of it doesn't really stand out all too much, unfortunately. The lack of new remixes is actually the one thing about this game that just genuinely disappointed me. On the other hand, something I really like about this game is just how straightforward everything is. The UI in the menus is incredibly easy to follow, loading screens are, for the most part, rather smooth, and there's very few instances where I felt left really trying to figure out what to do. Even if you opted to look through the controls and how to play before each event, the buttons and controls are often displayed when they need to be, which is incredibly helpful. The game is really easy to jump into and understand right away. Even the most complex of sports were understood fairly well thanks to the in-game UI, and a few rounds of trials and error. With how quick and smooth the game plays, though, I never really felt cheated, most of the time. I want to draw attention to the one single instance in this game that absolutely infuriated me. The story mode mission against Jet the Hawk is around a football, right? Well, actually, it's just a minigame about kicking into the goal. The player takes turns with Jet's computer between kicking the ball into one of 6 directions and stopping said ball as the goalie. Now, on paper, this sounds fine, but it's entirely a guessing game. It's not reaction-based. When I played through this mission for the first time in story mode, I was stuck on it for almost an hour, waiting for RNG to tip in my favor to get me out of this mission. Either Jet would get lucky and guess my shot and make me lose, or we would get stuck in a loop of 8 or 9 tiebreakers because we've scored every hit simply because I can't predict which one of 6 directions Jet will kick the ball. Eventually, I just stopped touching the controller altogether when I was goalie and waited for Jet to kick the ball straight on. This one specific mission, I feel, was really poorly handled and can be done either very quickly or take several hours, all depending on RNG. Despite Jet the Hawk proving to be my true Sonic rival, the presentation in this game is overall rather mixed. While the soundtrack and restrictive guest characters are low points, the UI, menus, and character animations are really rather good. In case the mixed reception to the presentation didn't make it obvious enough, Mario & Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020 really shines in its gameplay. This is what feels as though it had the main focus during most of the development, so because the gameplay is incredibly solid, I didn't find myself too bothered by a basic plot and presentation low points. Overall, I would say that if you're a fan of the Mario & Sonic series, or a fan of multiplayer party games, you should give this game a try. If what really grabs your attention about these series though is its soundtrack or a variety of dream events, you may find yourself a bit disappointed in this entry. Mario & Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020 is a solid game in terms of its gameplay, but between a lack of variety in its dream events, gimmicky 2D events that can't be played online, and wishy-washy presentation, I'm left feeling very mixed on this game, though leaning more towards a positive outlook. I hope in the coming weeks the online modes help shake this game up a bit to help me enjoy it even more. Before we go, I'd like to give a special thanks to all of our patrons. If you like this video, give us a like. Want to share your thoughts on the game? Leave a comment below, or let us know on Twitter or Discord, which you can find links to in the description. Make sure to subscribe to Source Gaming for more, and always remember to return to the source.